Now, I had always heard of the deep web horror stories, stories of hacking, stumbling upon disgusting sites, and even people somehow finding your address. These stories were mainly what kept me off the deep web, but with most of the people at my college using it on a normal basis, I decided to give it a go. I asked a friend to come over and help me set it up. When my friend arrived, we opened up my laptop and began to set up everything. He told me that we were using Tor, a program that lets you access the deep web. He also asked me if I was planning on doing anything illegal, to which I replied no. He said that since I wasn't, we didn't need to install Tails, which is apparently a software that makes it more secure if you plan on doing illegal things. A little while later, everything was set up. I had my new IP address, and my friend gave me a brief rundown on what to do and what not to do. He made it very clear that when I was using the hidden wiki, I need to keep it on censored mode, so it would be less likely to see anything I didn't want to see. After about 2 weeks of using the deep web, I felt like a pro. I had accessed many different sites, spoken with some great people, made friends, and even bought some things. I had become very confident and was ready to dig deeper into the dark web. I turned off the censored mode in the hidden wiki and began to browse links. It took a while, mostly because Tor is a bit slow and many of the links just lead to dead web pages. Eventually, I stumbled upon a site called All the Gore. It was mainly a big chat room with many different topics. I had a fairly strong stomach. I had seen many violent movies and had seen beheadings, killings, etc. throughout the normal internet. After looking at a few different chat rooms, I noticed how sick this site really was. The people in these chat rooms were actual killers, bragging about some of the things they had done. In the chat room, you could also post pictures. One man, by the name of Culture045, had the stage in one of his chat rooms. He was explaining in detail how he broke into someone's house, kidnapped a little girl, and brutally killed her parents by hiding under their bed and opening their throats. He then explained how he brought the little girl back to his house, beat her and cut her up. I didn't think he was telling the truth at first, but then he posted pictures. These were the most horrifying pictures I had ever seen. Close-ups of a poor 8 to 10-year-old girl being brutally raped, beaten, and cut with a knife. The new ones were of the girl tied to a chair, bleeding, crying, throwing up. Then he showed a picture of him with a drill, drilling into her skull. The most haunting part is that while he was doing it, he was looking at the camera with sheer joy in his face. I had seen enough and typed into the chat room window, "You people are sick and you deserve to die. How can you sleep at night?" Immediately, people began making fun of me, saying that I was just as helpless and ignorant as the girl in the pictures, and that I should get off the big boy part of the internet. When Culture typed something into the chat box, he said, "Really? Where do you live, buddy? I'm sure everybody would love to see you on this site." I then made the biggest mistake of my life. I typed, "I'm calling the police," and having this site shut down. Less than a minute later, everybody on the site room went black, and a new chat box appeared in green. In it, someone named Admid1 typed in the box. He said, "Call the cops and you will regret it." I didn't type anything in the box and reached for my cell phone. What happens next haunts me to this day. My phone said I had a new message. I opened it and it said, "Call the police and you're dead." There was no number. It didn't even say unknown number. It was just blank. I looked back at my laptop and saw the webcam light turn on. I quickly covered it, but I saw on the screen a picture of me looking at my phone. I got wide-eyed and froze for a moment. When the admin typed again, "Put the phone down right now and uncover your webcam." I put the phone down but kept the webcam covered. when he typed again, "Okay then, be like that," right after he posted my full name, age, and address in the chat box, and then typed, "It would be a shame if you and your college buddies went missing, wouldn't it?" I then did as he said and uncovered my webcam. He then told me to follow his instructions on how to make it impossible for me to reach the site again. I followed each and every one. When I finished, I got a text that said, "Now don't ever try to come back." Just like before, it had no number. I still called the police from my friend's phone, but they were never able to find the site. I was extremely rattled by what had happened. The police tried to crack down on the website, but since there was no way for them to recover my history, and I had originally found this sick site by just randomly clicking links, it seemed pretty hopeless to find it. The police then told me to change all my information about myself and to move in with a friend. After changing pretty much all my information, I decided to move in with my friend David. David was an extremely honest, hardworking person. He never went to parties, slacked off, got drunk or high. He was always very dedicated to finishing college. In fact, he was one of the few kids I knew at the time who wasn't getting on the deep web on a regular basis. I had told him all about my experiences with the deep web, and that's mostly why he agreed to let me stay with him. One night, we were both up studying very late when my phone went off. I looked to see who had texted me, and I saw that the person sending the message had no number, just like the last time. It read, "Check your computer." There was nothing else to it, just one simple instruction. I opened my laptop up, and when I did, I noticed I didn't have control of the mouse. I tried to move it, but the mouse had just moved on its own. Someone had remote access to my computer. I tried a whole bunch of keyboard commands, but not a single one worked. I noticed that whoever had control of my laptop was downloading a software, most likely malware, but there was nothing that I could do. I heard my phone go off again, and this time the message said, "Look out your window." I was sitting right by the window. I didn't know which window the guy was referring to, so I looked out the one I was sitting by and saw a man in the parking lot leaning up against a white van. He had a phone in his hand, and when I looked at him, he nodded. My phone went off again. Type in and hold down Shift Alt F5 at the same time to activate the software. I called in David to my room to show him what was going on. He seemed just as nervous as I was, but with the man just outside our window, we didn't want to anger him. David called the police right away and told me that they would be here soon. I didn't activate the software and just sat there. Eventually I got a text, "I'm coming in if you don't do it right now." I didn't know why he or the person in control of my computer couldn't do it, but I didn't dare to ask. At the same time though, I was 99% sure that this program had malware or spyware or something that could be very harmful to my computer, so I refused to activate it. David grabbed a baseball bat just in case the man outside tried to come in. About 5 minutes later, we heard the doorknob turning. It was locked, but then we heard banging on the door. We both freaked out, and I looked out the window again. Sure enough, the man in the van was gone. The banging on the door got more and more violent until eventually we heard a horrible scratching sound. It lasted a few more minutes, and then we heard footsteps walk down the hall and eventually fade away. I received another text, "We will be back." That really got to me. When the cops arrived, they told me to look at my door. I followed them back out into the hallway and saw engraved into my door my name. The police began investigating the whole building, and they had a tech police officer come in and look at my computer. He began to do scans and investigate the weird software on my laptop. Eventually, he managed to close and remove it, and told me that my laptop isn't safe. He said the core files of it had been hacked into and corrupted. We did a complete wipe of my laptop, and he looked at my phone as well. Just like last time, he couldn't tell where the messages came from, and told me that they would be sure to keep some cops nearby in case this ever happened again. The next day, I had just got home from school, and I was really tired. David wasn't home yet, so I went into my room and fell into the bed. I had just begun to close my eyes when I heard a rattling sound in my closet. I lifted up my head and didn't hear it again, so I went back to sleep. After a few minutes, the closet door swung open. I leaped out of the bed and saw a man with a mask walking over to me. I ran for the door and slammed it behind me. I ran out into the parking lot, started my car, and drove away as fast as I could. By the time the police arrived, the man was of course gone. The apartment surprisingly hadn't been wrecked or anything. We didn't even find anything stolen. He didn't seem to do anything at first. This night, 2 police officers were monitoring everyone who came in and out of the building in order to catch the man. I opened my laptop and noticed that my wallpaper had been changed. It was originally just a bunch of trees, but it had been changed to a sickening photo of a man with a mask, the same mask that I saw on the man who was in my closet. Digging a knife into a baby's eye and what looked like a small cabin. I also noticed that all my applications and programs were gone, and I saw the same software as last night, right in the middle. I clicked on it, and it had already been installed. Just like last time, it filled the entire screen, and what looked like a live stream was going on. I couldn't exit out, and the live stream was coming from a boy's house. He looked about 13 or 14 and was at his computer. It didn't take long for me to notice that what I was watching was through a webcam. I saw a small chat box pop up in the top right of the screen, and in it, someone typed in the box, "Welcome to our live stream. We are glad everyone could be here. Thank you, John, for being here as well." My eyes got very wide. My name was John, and they were waiting until I was watching to start the live stream. As I watched, I saw the closet door behind the poor boy slowly open up, and a man walked out with a toolbox in one hand. He quietly set the box down and pulled out some duct tape. He went behind the kid and put the tape over his mouth. The poor kid's face was filled with total fear. He tried to scream, but couldn't because of the tape. They were making a decent amount of noise, so it told me that the kid must have been home alone. I tried hard to exit out, but I couldn't. I then saw the man take out a screwdriver and drive it into the kid's chest. Blood began to pour out, and the kid made an awful wheezing type noise. I saw tears come out from his eyes, and as the sick man began to drive the screwdriver deeper and deeper, and then yank it out, the man then took out a hammer and smashed the kid's hands several times till they were nothing more than a mangled bloody mess. I tried every command I could to exit out, but nothing was working. I noticed that in the chat box, several people were cheering the man on. The man then took out a handheld electric saw, pressed it against the boy's face, and turned it on. The boy screamed with pain as a saw went up into his eye, causing blood to go everywhere and get on the camera a little as well. I started to get tears in my eyes as I saw I couldn't stop it. Then, the man took the screwdriver, gouged out the kid's eyes, and took out a large knife. I threw up all over the floor, and when I looked back, I saw in the chat box people typing in horrible things like, "Oh my God, that was so wonderful. Thanks so much for doing this," etc. In the box, I saw someone named Culture 045 type into the box, "Thanks for watching, John." After that, the program closed on its own, and I was left with the sickening wallpaper. I was sweating, breathing heavy, and feeling sick. Through the entire thing, I didn't realize that my phone had gone off several times. I looked at it, and the most hateful, mean messages were coming from my friends and family. I asked my mom what was wrong, and she texted back, "You sent that sick, disturbing live stream to everyone. I can't believe who you are. The police have been called." I felt even more sick than before. Those monsters had sent that live stream to all my friends somehow, and made it come from me. They had pretty much ruined my life. Within a couple of minutes, when the police arrived, I had told them everything that had happened, and quickly they managed to explain to all my friends and family what had happened. They really cracked down on finding these people, and a month later, 4 men had been arrested. One was Culture 045, the other was Admin 1, and the 2 others were working with them. The site was found and shut down as well, and I got a new laptop and a phone. I could say some horror cliche here and say something like, "I kept getting texts," or "I kept hearing weird things ever since," but none of that had happened. They were arrested, and I never heard anything further. It's good to know that those men are in jail, or perhaps even dead. But what scares me is all the other people watching the live stream who were there for pleasure, and they're still out there, and that there is probably thousands of other Culture 045s out there all over the world. I see a lot of people interested in the deep web these days, mainly teens. People talking about red doors and many other alternate names to things they think that are real, but haven't seen themselves. People question every day, are these red door events real? Do they ever really happen? They are very real indeed. Unfortunately, people with sick minds who get off on torture and other abnormal things go searching for these red doors, and when they find them, they put great amounts of money just to control the show. The shows are usually hosted by someone from the Middle Eastern portion of the world. It's always a dark-skinned person hosting the show with their faces covered by a cloth or a mask. The hosts always seem to be in a mad, demanding mood, and always seem to be under the influence of some type of drug or booze. I'm going to tell you the experience I had once when going deep into the deep end of the web. Some of you may have heard of it, but can't get there. You can't get there with Tor. Tor is infested with law enforcement. Red doors won't show up on the Onion anymore like they used to. The only way you can get to see a red door show is through Shadow Web, and to get into Shadow Web, you need an anonymous server which is called Skix. It's like the new Tor, but without all the law enforcement. The world is a much more cruel place nowadays in the cyber world. As a recently retired FBI agent who specializes in cyber crimes all around the world, I'm here to share a story of what I saw on one of my last cases before I retired. The case was never closed and got passed down to the agent who replaced me. This was about 4 months ago. I was working on a case that had been opened up through an anonymous complaint that we had received online. The complaint was lengthy and in detail described and mentioned many acts of torture beyond what I had seen in my time with the agency. The tipster had sent screenshots of what he or she had seen on the night while digging deep into the deep web. They explained how they had been a regular on the deep web, but how everything was dying out. So they found the Shadow Web. The process of becoming a member of the Shadow Web was lengthy. The person claimed it took them up to 2 weeks before they were granted access after paying. Finally, the email they were expecting came in, and they were granted access after installing Skix. This was a new software program that would allow them access to the Shadow Web servers. Little did they know what they were getting themselves into. I won't go into detail as to what they mentioned in the report because it was still under investigation, due to the person being murdered in their own home from an unknown assailant. This is where I will mention my experience as part of my personal investigation. I was given a link into the shadow web by the recently deceased. With permission from the big head, I was able to sit down and proceed. I took the security precautions and paid the fee. It took the shadow web admin 2 days to send me the email allowing me access. In the email, they prompted me to join as many as 4 live sessions that they were going throughout the week. One of them was called Shark Bait, and the other 2 are too gross to mention. The shadow web entrance that I was given was a portal to about 10 other websites through the shadow web. The websites didn't have names. They were named by numbers in a 1 to 10 list. There were about 100 other websites on the bottom, but mainly were under construction. On the main page, it showed the times and dates of the 4 shows that they were going to be broadcasting live on the shadow web through a stream. There were archives that began in March of 2015 and ended August 23rd. These archives were previous live streams that had already happened. I decided to take a look. The one I chose was called Salted Snail. I didn't really know what to expect before clicking it, judging by the name. I thought there was going to be a snail involved. There wasn't. It took me to a brown page with an ad and a video behind the ad. The ad started with the clown laughing. He then says, "Not so fast. You have to go through me before you see what you came to see." He reminded me of Captain Spaulding. He had severed heads in the background. His face was painted and smeared. His clothes were splattered with bloodstains. In the ad, he encouraged viewers to come and join one of his next sessions coming up and to pay a fee and see the fun that was going to unfold. He mentioned that the viewers were in charge and that they were in control of what happened to the sadistic victims. He then looked closely into the camera and said it's going to be a great show. Then the ad ends. The video is now available to play. The video was titled Salted Snail. The video begins, no credit, it just begins. You see the clown again, walking out from behind a white curtain that has what looked like old blood smeared all over it, with a light behind it. His face is painted, and he is naked. He walks out of the curtain, chuckling to himself and smiling, and announces how happy he is to see the new members. He then goes on a 30-second rant about law enforcement and how they can't catch him, and how he is in the U.S., and how he lives next door to a state trooper. Thanking all of his friends in China, I'm guessing hackers, who keep him anonymous. After his rant, he then says the show is scheduled to stream for 15 minutes, so he has to stick to his schedule because he is very, very hungry and hasn't eaten in the past 2 days. He then flashes his ribs at the camera. He wasn't that skinny. He reminds everyone that he is in control for this show, not the viewers. He then chuckles and says, "I'll be right back." He goes behind the curtain and then rolls out a black barrel and places it in front of the camera. He then walks around to the barrel, knocking all around it with his fists, as if he's knocking on a door. He then kicks it hard with his heel, and you could hear something in the barrel. He then grabs what looks to be a flathead screwdriver and pries open the barrel. You can see a head full of hair as the lid opens, a girl sitting there alive. He then yells at her in Chinese to stand up. She can barely stand. Her body is soggy from what I assume is water that she was in. He then looks at the camera and says, "Doesn't she look delicious? Delicious as cake." The girl had her hands tied behind her back and her mouth was bonded with multiple layers of cloth. She looked too weak to scream, too weak to escape or even attempt. She just stood there, from what seemed to be like if she was accepting her death. Then the clown went behind the curtain and came back out with a knife and a razor. He then got in front of the camera and said, "I love me some Chinese food, it's dinner time." The girl then turned to him and looked at him, and he nodded at her and said, "Yes, yes, it's time." Her eyes opened wide. She tried to scream but couldn't. He then teased her, poking at her with a knife. She began bleeding instantly from the poking. Then he showed off the razor blade, and then proceeded to cut little squares out of her shoulder as if he was cutting a cake into pieces. Pretty soon, he was at the other shoulder, then her chest, breast, and stomach. The scene was extremely gorish and violent, almost as if he was filleting a fish. By the time he was finished with her body, what seemed like a plate full of soggy skin, the girl was still alive. Her body looked like it had been eaten by piranhas. The only thing remaining was her face and her hair. He then took the plate behind the curtain and brought back out another plate. He then looks at the camera and says, "Well, look at that. Doesn't she look great? You can see she may have lost a couple of pounds, huh?" He then winks at the camera and laughs. He proceeds to cut off the girl's ears and lips. What looks now like a mutilated body that is still alive left me wondering what he had done to the other people in the past. I was enraged and extremely disturbed by what I had seen. The finale showed the clown coming out of the curtain with 2 containers of salt. He then poured the salt all over her body where her skin had been cut off. He poured a good amount in her ears and her lips. The girl, suffering, hardly moving but still somewhat standing, he then looks to the camera and says, "I bet you thought I was going to kill her, didn't you? I'm not a murderer." He then pushes her head back down into the barrel and closes the lid. Looks at the camera and says, "Stay tuned to the next episode." The camera then shows him putting a white tablecloth over the barrel and placing the plate full of soggy flesh on the barrel. He then lights a candle and grabs a fork and a knife and pulls up a chair. The camera shows him eating the flesh while chuckling away and talking to himself. The screen then floods in with words, till the next episode, over and over, with some circus music playing in the background. The camera then dims as it shows him eating and laughing away. The black screen shows the words, "Offline." I immediately became concerned for the girl. She was Asian. The clown clearly looked American, or at least sounded American. He really resembled Captain Spaulding from The Devil's Rejects or House of a Thousand Corpses. I assume that's what he was trying to be or act like. I contacted my chief and had a personal meeting with him and explained everything about what I had seen. He then laughed and said, "Ah, you've seen him, huh? That evil clown on the internet. He's been around since the late 90s, doing these shows. He seems to buy women off the market and then tortures them." He then shrugs his shoulders and says, "We don't know who he is or where he's located. The Chinese help keep him anonymous." To me, this was something new. As an agent who dealt with homicides and piracy, I had never encountered nor seen anything like this. I am now retired though, and I figured I would share this story on Reddit. About a week ago, I came across a forum online that was talking about the deep web. Having already known about the deep web from a few friends I knew in high school, I thought I should check it out. After a lot of searching on how to access it, I finally had everything set up. I was excited. This was all new to me and I love finding new things. A buddy of mine said I should check out a hidden wiki to find a bunch of stuff that would be interesting. He told me that there are things I should be wary about while browsing the deep web, but most of these things I shouldn't have to worry about because they are paid services. I brushed him off, but I knew he wasn't over-exaggerating. I opened up Tor and made sure I turned off all the necessary scripts. Not wanting to be tracked, I was seriously into finding some leaked documents about Area 51 and Gitmo, basically anything that exposed the government. As I was browsing, I came across this archive with over 3,000 links onto it, I decided I would start somewhere, near the bottom. I clicked on quite a few and waited for them to load, while looking for some more to open. Let it be noted that not all of them had descriptions or titles. It was just the links that were shown, and in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have clicked on those ones. Eventually, all of the tabs loaded and I started to go through them. One was some kind of forum where deep web surfers could interact with each other and find out where to find some cool websites. I was interested in that, so I left the tab open and went on to the next one. This one was just a page that said it had been seized by the government. I immediately closed the tab. That wasn't me. Being paranoid deep inside, I knew that my IP address was hidden and I was protected by a bunch of firewalls and security software that I had bought from a previous job. The next tab was disturbing, to say the least. Now, I won't go into detail because I don't want to put too vivid of an image into your brain. Let's just say it was snuff. Snuff that should never, under any circumstances, be seen by anyone. I immediately closed the tab, and I was left with that same forum that I had first come across. After my run-in with the last website, I should have left. I shouldn't have kept going, but my curiosity got the best of me, and I kept going in, deeper and deeper, with every click. Eventually, I came across the website that I was hoping I'd find. Government exploits. I was so relieved I wouldn't be coming across any more snuff, and snuff I should never see again. For those of you who browse the deep web, you should know exactly what I'm talking about. I was casually browsing through this amazing website when I saw another tab pop open. It startled me because I hadn't clicked on anything and I was just reading. I slowly hovered over the tab and considered closing it, but before I could, my curious mind decided to open the tab. It was the worst mistake I ever made. At first, it looked innocent enough. It was just a blank page. Kind of like a page you get when there's a 404 error page, except there was nothing on it. I thought nothing of it, and was about to close the page when words started forming on the page without me typing. Hello, the first word read. Nice to see you again. Again? I questioned myself. I knew I should have reset my IP address after accessing some of the websites I did. You don't look like I expected you to. After that was said, all the color drained from my face. How did this person know what I looked like? I thought for sure that this was some kind of a bot that the web page owner had made to mess with some people. I then started laughing, and then continued to exit the page, only it wouldn't let me. That's when I started to panic. Not a huge panic, more like the kind of panic you get when you think you've forgotten or lost your wallet somewhere. Trying to leave so soon, Lynn? Now I was full of panic. There was no way this guy could know my name. The next message he sent was bone-chilling. He sent me my full name, social security number and my address, phone number, previous employer, every little bit of personal information he could dig up on me. I was terrified. Now that I have your attention, be a good girl and look at the camera for me. I did. I mentally slapped myself. How could I have forgotten to tape my webcam before going on the deep web? I figured he had access to my microphone, so I asked him a question. What do you want? He replied, Not so fast. You look so beautiful. I'd love for you to make an appearance in one of my videos. I shook my head and said no. Oh, but I'm not giving you a choice, he said. I started crying. I knew he wasn't giving me a choice. I tried to remain emotionless, to keep from getting this guy off knowing that he was able to get something out of me. But obviously I failed. He had all of my information. I was hopeless. I was dead either way. I was done reading what this guy had to say, and I threw my laptop outside into the rain, locked all of the doors and windows, and went into my room. I'd buy a new laptop the next day, I told myself. Just as I start to drift off to sleep, I heard tapping on my window. It wasn't loud enough to get me out of my half-asleep trance. But then there was a loud bang. I jumped out from my bed and slowly walked over to my bedroom window, and there was nothing there. I got back into bed and started to fall asleep again, and I slept through the night, waking up at 8 a.m. in the morning. I've been getting phone calls all day from a blocked number. I know it's long distance because my phone has a different ring to it if it's a long distance caller. This is how I avoid accidentally answering the phone to telemarketers. Seeing how it was a blocked number, I figured it could have been family calling from my hometown, so I answered it, and all I could hear on the other end of the line was heavy breathing. Every hour on the hour, I've been getting phone calls like this all day. It's now 9:30 p.m. as I'm writing this, and I am absolutely scared to death. I don't know what to do since this guy knows all of my information. And being in the panic that I was in last night, I ruined all the evidence that I had of the conversation between him and myself. The police aren't going to do anything because he hasn't made any direct threats, and I am genuinely scared for my life.